No, it's not. Let's keep it real. And that's why on this show, sometimes we get a little pushback. We get a little hate. Oh, well, it's a thin line between love and hate, so we can deal with it, right? But I've been saying this forever. Like, you're never going to get respect when people got to pet you on the head. When they got to say, oh, good boy, good girl. When they got to rub you, you know what I mean? Instead of just being real with you. I don't need you to rub me. I don't need you to glaze me, as she said. Keep it 1,000 wow. That's how you get real respect.
A former NFL All-Pro just tore apart the WNBA's entire negotiation approach on live TV. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Marcellus Wiley is absolutely right about everything he said. These players had massive public backing and somehow managed to turn that same fan base against them. Now they're facing owners who refuse to move an inch. So what went wrong here?
Oh, little sub-world, so they can be great. You're the best NFL defensive end pass rusher that went to an Ivy League school that's from the hood. Hey, bro, I don't need all that. It's making you delusional. Support and this false, not if I'm not. Like, this false support and this false confidence, all you do is delude.
This is the reality check nobody wanted to give them. False praise breeds false confidence. When Wiley mentions people patting you on the head instead of giving you straight talk, he's calling out the entire media bubble that surrounded the WNBA for the last couple of years. The league finally caught fire after Caitlin Clark showed up. Ratings hit numbers we haven't seen since the very first season back in 19. But instead of using that momentum strategically behind closed doors, players decided to air their demands publicly without understanding the actual financial situation. Let me break down what the real numbers tell us. The WNBA peaked in ratings during its debut year and then everything collapsed for more than 20 years straight. This year's numbers are the second best in league history. Everything between 1997 and now was basically unwatchable television. Wiley lived through all of this as an active NFL player. He watched the WNBA struggle season after season while being kept alive by NBA money.
I remember the first year. WNBA had its highest ratings, and then the second highest ratings are right now. Everything in the middle, cratered. What happened? I tell you what happened. One, we get tired of ceremony. Everybody gonna show up for the wedding. Everybody gonna wish you well with the honeymoon. Who coming over on Wednesday in about 6 months just to kick it?
That wedding comparison hits different because it's precisely what happened here. Everybody came out for the WNBA's big debut in 1997. Stars in the front row, wall-to-wall media attention, real excitement about women's professional basketball finally getting a league that could last. But weddings are just events, and events create fake crowds. Fast forward 6 months to some random Tuesday night game, who's actually still there? That's when you find out if people really care, and the WNBA couldn't pass that test for 2 full decades. This league only survived because NBA owners kept writing checks to cover the losses year after year. That's not running a business. That's running a charity that happens to involve basketballs. And now that the WNBA has real momentum for the first time in forever, these players are acting like they've been packing arenas for decades instead of recognizing they're barely 2 years into what might be a comeback story.
We like sports because there's a home team and an away team. We like sports because it's home and visitor. Go at it. We got to have rooting interests. And they don't want to create that, so then they suffer. It's just too much pandering. Golly, just talk about it. She's sorry. She good. She's great. Candace Parker can't say Paige Beckers need to work on defense.
Yeah. See, it's stuff like that. And that's what Rachel Demita was getting at when she said, yo, the WNBA media is terrible because you can't even say, like, they wanted Candace Parker to lie and pretend like Paige Beckers was the second coming of Kawhi Leonard. Like, and she got pummeled for it. She got pummeled for saying, wait a minute, you guys, y'all kind of doing a lot. She hasn't made an all-defensive team. Like, calm down.
Here's where things get really awkward for everyone who's been hyping up the WNBA. Rachel Demita built her whole career covering basketball and has millions of followers. She said the WNBA gets terrible media coverage because Bobby's allowed to tell the truth. What happened next? She got absolutely demolished for it. Candace Parker is literally a legend and works as an analyst now. She couldn't even mention that Paige Beckers hasn't made an all-defensive team yet without people coming for her. Stop and think about how insane that is. A Hall of Fame player can't share basic stats about a college player without getting dragged online. That's not journalism. That's cheerleading. And when your whole media world is built on endless praise instead of honest takes, you end up with players who actually believe they have way more power than they really do. These owners are sitting across from players who think they're negotiating from strength, while looking at financial reports that show a completely different reality. The WNBA has lost money in 27 out of 28 seasons since it started. That one profitable year was basically a fluke. These aren't opinions we're talking about here. These are stone-cold facts.
And no lie, and I like the song too, it's a banger. But I'll be like, I say, baby, we run the world. We, men and women. Depends on what you running. Don't be going around here thinking, kids start that all the time. Girls, you can't do it, daddy, because you're not a girl. Other than childbirth, I don't know what you're talking about, baby. I don't know what you're talking about. All right, let's beat it up in the comments. Let me know what you guys thinking. Yeah, Chris Henry says what I've always said. Lower the damn rim.
Now, Wiley's attacking the whole cultural message that created this disconnect from reality. His daughter singing Who Runs the World Girls at home is adorable. But when that same energy makes professional athletes think they should get NBA-style revenue splits despite bringing in a tiny fraction of the money, we've gone from inspiration to straight-up delusion. The WNBA wants a 50-50 split in their new deal. NBA players get roughly half of all basketball revenue because their league generates $9 billion every single year. The WNBA brings in around $200 million and has never consistently made a profit. Those aren't sexist numbers, that's just basic math. And owners are saying absolutely not, because agreeing to that split would mean cutting even bigger checks to cover even bigger losses.
The three-point line is closer. The damn time is shorter. You can't do nothing with this damn rim. Just, all right, keep suffering then. Keep suffering. Silly. Like, help yourself. Help yourself, help yourself. Give me an exhibition. I guarantee you, if you hype it up enough, All-Star game, 9-foot rims. Fix the WNBA. Because what's going to happen is everybody going to be watching that damn All-Star game like, damn. My God, did Paige Beckers just windmill on somebody? And then you'll be like, I got to see that again. So then we watch a regular WNBA game. We'd be like, boycott. No, WNBA without the 9-foot.
The lower rim discussion always makes people lose their minds. But Wiley's actually onto something about making the product better. The ball is already smaller in women's basketball. The three-point line is already moved in. The games are already shorter. These changes exist because the average WNBA player is about 6 inches shorter and way less explosive than NBA players. That's just biology, not some kind of insult. So why is rim height the one thing nobody can even talk about? Wiley's idea about a 9-foot rim for the All-Star game actually makes perfect sense from an entertainment angle. Picture Paige Booker's wind-milling in transition, or Angel Reese catching lobs and throwing down monster dunks. That would be must-watch television. The dunk is basketball's most electric play, and the WNBA has basically eliminated it by keeping rims at 10 feet. But you can't even bring this up without getting accused of disrespecting women's basketball. That's exactly the problem Wiley's pointing out. This league has surrounded itself with people who scream sexism at every single piece of feedback, instead of actually listening to what might make the product better.
Man, they gotta... I don't know, man. These players seem dug in, bro. These players seems dug in. I don't know, man. Nasty work, though. Here it says, let's get to this. It says Fevers make first ever announcement on Kelsey Mitchell amid WNBA offseason.
And this brings us to the real issue at the center of everything. These players have backed themselves into a corner. They've made public demands about what they think they deserve. They've turned this business negotiation into some kind of civil rights battle. And they've done all this while owners are staring at spreadsheets showing decades of red ink with one brief moment of interest that might not even last. Indiana Fever just posted about Kelsey Mitchell hitting a game winner for her overseas team during this whole CBA mess. The Fever are still supporting Mitchell even though she's playing somewhere else right now. That's the same kind of relationship NBA teams have with their stars too. Because NBA players actually generate enough money to justify that kind of treatment. Here's what Marcellus Wiley gets that WNBA players seem to be missing completely. Leverage in negotiations comes from having options and consequences that matter. What options do players have if these talks fall apart completely? What options do owners have? They could shut down a league that's been costing them money for 30 years anyway. That's not equal power. That's not even close to equal power. And the fact that players walked into these negotiations acting like they hold all the cards shows exactly what Wiley means when he talks about delusion created by fake support. The media world around the WNBA spent 2 years telling players they were finally getting proper respect, that Caitlin Clark proved audiences exist, that rising ratings mean everything has fundamentally changed. And some of that is actually true. Audiences do exist, ratings did jump up. Things have gotten dramatically better compared to where they were, but better compared to historically awful is not the same thing as actually good. The WNBA's biggest regular season game in 2024 pulled in 2.3 million viewers. That's incredible for the WNBA. It's also worse than a boring NFL game, worse than an okay NBA playoff game, and worse than college football between decent teams. Context is everything here. Players heard record ratings and thought that meant they suddenly had NBA-level power. Owners heard record ratings and thought maybe this thing could eventually stop losing money if they're smart about it. Those are totally different ways of looking at the exact same information, and that's why these talks have completely stalled out. Wiley's point about identity politics versus pure excellence is huge here. The WNBA has marketed itself heavily on representation and breaking down barriers. That matters for cultural reasons, but it doesn't balance the books. The NFL doesn't work because of identity. The NBA doesn't work because of identity. They work because they've built entertainment that hundreds of millions of people want to watch no matter who's playing. The WNBA is still at the stage where a big chunk of their audience watches out of duty or political support rather than pure entertainment. That's not sustainable long-term. You can't build a profitable league on people watching because they think they're supposed to. You need people watching because they absolutely cannot miss what's happening. And this connects directly to why WNBA media coverage has become such a problem. When every analyst has to praise every player, when honest criticism gets treated like personal attacks, when basic statistical context gets called disrespectful, you actually prevent the league from building the kind of real fan passion that creates lasting growth. NBA fans fight endlessly about whether LeBron or Jordan is the greatest because media created room for that argument. NFL fans genuinely disagree about quarterback rankings because analysts can criticize even the best players. That fuck creates engagement. The WNBA's demand for positive coverage only has actually hurt the development of passionate fan bases. Because real passion requires the freedom to criticize what you love. Rachel Demita got destroyed for speaking honest. Candace Parker got attacked for sharing basic defensive stats about Paige Bueckers. Both incidents sent a crystal clear message to anyone covering the WNBA. Stay positive or get canceled. That's how you end up with players who truly believe they have more power than they actually have. Because nobody with a platform is allowed to give them reality checks. Owners understand all of this perfectly. They've been writing checks to keep this league alive for decades. They lived through the false starts and failed marketing pushes and empty arenas. They were there for the entire 20-year crash between the 1997 launch and So when players show up demanding 50-50 revenue sharing and guaranteed contracts and bigger rosters, the owners basically say, prove this growth can last for 3 more years first. That's not unreasonable. That's actually standard business practice everywhere. You don't completely restructure your financial model based on one solid year after 20 years of losses. But players have been told by their media bubble that they deserve this immediately. That waiting is disrespect, that owners are being cheap. So they've taken hard public positions that make it almost impossible to back down without looking defeated. Wiley sees this clearly because he lived through actual NFL negotiations where real billions of dollars are on the table. He knows what genuine leverage looks like. He knows what sustainable businesses require. And he's watching WNBA players make strategic mistakes that are going to cost them money and momentum. The real tragedy is that players actually had a window of real leverage. If they'd negotiated quietly and strategically during the 2024 season, while Caitlin Clark fever was at its absolute peak, they probably could have gotten real concessions from owners who were seeing profit potential for the first time in decades. Instead, they went public with their demands. They made everything about social justice, and they gave owners time to analyze whether the spike would actually continue. Now it's January 20. The season is over. Stars are playing overseas, and that rating spike is history instead of current reality. Owner urgency has completely disappeared. Player leverage has shrunk dramatically, and both sides are trapped in a public standoff that neither can easily get out of. So was Marcellus Wiley completely right? Did WNBA players completely mishandle their position? Just look where we ended up. No deal in sight. Players spread out across international leagues. Owners showing zero signs of movement. And a fan base that went from excited and supportive to tired and frustrated with this whole mess. That's not what winning negotiations looks like. That's what watching your leverage disappear in real time looks like. And the most frustrating part is none of this had to happen this way.